Wish me luck. I'm diving into the USA Today website.
Oh god. Anyway. Hello everyone and welcome to the Kat Café, a weekly podcast streamed live on Twitch to help you scratch... Okay, let's start over.
Has your weekend started already?
Yeah.
You've
Hello
completely
everyone and
clocked
welcome
out.
welcome
Nope,
to the...
we're keeping it.
No, wait, okay. Whatever. Welcome whoever is watching to the Kat Cafe. It is a weekly podcast streamed live on Twitch where we talk about lighthearted topics that'll make you scratch your head. Or wherever you scratch, really. Today's topic is video games versus traditional games. And I'm here with Squeebers.
Squeebers!
Yes! Episode 6 already failing. Great.
Episode 6, that we've shut down, we've sold the furniture, turn off the lights. We don't have enough for the electricity.
Yeah, pretty much. We got in this podcast is 5 minutes long.
We had to sell all the desks. Nico is sitting on a cardboard box, in a cardboard box, like
Yes.
a proper cat.
Shush. You and your cardboard boxes. Actually, yeah, I'm in the cat box, so I guess that's pretty appropriate. Yeah. This is actually the second podcast we do on the actual Discord server, and I'm really happy how it's turning out. This first week the first week of the server has been just amazing. I love how everything has been going on. I love how people are just sharing stuff. There hasn't been that much communication, but the little that there's been has been really pleasant. Hopefully everything goes well for the future of the cat box. So, let's just get right into it.
No, I'm getting word now. We've foreclosed on the building. We have to be out by this afternoon.
Well, it's already 6, so we're a little late on that.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. They're taking my microphone.
You can't hear me because they're taking your microphone. Logic.
No, can't hear you.
Alright.
I managed to buy it back with an IOU.
Oh, yeah. Like those, because those are still so relevant.
I mean, it's essentially what credit is, isn't it?
Yeah, and like you're forced to have it too at one point in your life, right? Like some things require
Forced IOUs.
Forced IOUs. I have the cash to pay you, but I'm obligated to owe you this cash for a later date. I can't give it to you now.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Growing up, I always tried to give people IOUs, and it was never good enough. And as soon as I wanted to get an apartment, they were like, "Nuh-uh, come back once you've given enough people IOUs."
Wait, what?
What?
What? Anyway, coming back to the topic. Hello everyone who's watching. Hopefully you've had a great Friday. Hopefully this is the start of a great weekend for you. Anyway, let's get right into the topic. First question I got for you, Squeebers, is what do you prefer, video games or traditional games?
That's kind of a hard one, really, because obviously I'm a big gamer, constantly playing games, but there's so many good board games, and nothing really beats like sitting down and playing a game of Risk or Stratego or anything like that.
Wow, it's been a long time since I heard that name, Risk. Wow, that's
Yes.
an old one.
It's good too.
Yeah, it's really good.
Years ago, my dad gave me a vintage Risk set with hand-carved wooden pieces.
Oh, wow. That's really nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Because we used to play that a lot when I was a kid. My whole family's very, like, not really anti-video games, but they're more outdoorsy, climbing trees, playing a bit of board game before going out and running through the forest.
I think that's everyone's family at this point.
Bunch
We
of
haven't-
damn hippies.
We haven't reached the gaming generation just yet where their parents are gamers. Well, wait, okay. To be fair, we kind of have, but at the same time we haven't. There's always going to be that one
Not looking
person.
forward to it.
Wait, what?
Not looking forward to it.
Yeah. I guess. But there's always someone who's going to want to go running in the trees. We're never going to get rid of that person. You know,
I do feel like the most recent generation, though, I mean, gamers still get a bit of a bad rep. You know,
Oh, yeah.
being made fun of, called a nerd, things like that. Typical kid stuff.
Yeah.
But with esports becoming a bigger thing and, like, entire governments having to recognize them.
That was
I
actually one
feel
of the
like,
questions I had.
yeah, we are very near the point where it's just commonplace. Like, oh, what's your favorite sports team? Oh, I love the South Korean pencil pushers on League of Legends. They're great. I love those guys. I got an
Yeah.
E jersey. It's so great.
E-jersey. Yeah, that's...
Downloaded a skin for my, I don't know, MySpace account. What do kids use these days?
I think the most used social media now is just... It's just YouTube, because of course it is at this
What?
point. And Twitter.
Of course it is.
Twitter is
What?
definitely... I think Twitter just took over Facebook. Twitter is the new Facebook. Like, there's... Like, you listen... You hear the word Facebook and your mind immediately goes to... Well, I guess the same area MySpace is in. Like, people just immediately think of MySpace and Facebook as being just as old and just as irrelevant at this point. Like, Facebook is just...
Well, I've heard a lot that people consider Facebook now to be for old people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just like MySpace is like for old people, I guess. It was at one point. Facebook is now for old people. Like, it's just moms and kids. I mean, not kids, like moms and their kids and just old people sharing stuff and some groups of whatever. I don't know, it's just a mess at this point.
Who owns Twitter?
Good question. I do have a Twitter and it's okay. It's a lot like Facebook, but you get very limited characters, which I kind of think is a good thing, because you can't just spam a super long paragraph like you can on Facebook. You can't just spam stuff. I mean, you can tweet.
Isn't that really an aid of information, though?
I guess it just helps you make your tweets simple, short, and sweet. But you can like a lot of people, what they do is just they state at the beginning of the tweet, like, this is part 1 of 3 of this tweet. Like, they just have 3 tweets which amalgamates into one big tweet. So you don't really have a limit on what you can say or how much you can type. Just like you have a limit on what you can type in one specific tweet, but you can just amalgamate it into various tweets.
Turn it into like an episodic adventure, 150 characters at a time.
Yeah, basically. It's like an RPG.
Choose your own adventure, Twitter style.
Choose your own tweet. I think I actually do like Twitter because it's not... Facebook has like 20,000 sections you can go in and has Messenger and all this kind of stuff. And granted, Twitter doesn't have stories, which is amazing. It doesn't have like too many tabs. It just has 4 simple things. Your timeline, which is all the tweets of people you follow, and your tweets and your replies and stuff. You can like, you can retweet, which means that tweet you retweeted now appears on your profile, obviously crediting the author of the tweet. And you can you can add text or retweet to reply to that tweet. There's a lot of stuff you can do, but it just feels very neat and tidy. It doesn't feel like a mess. It's it's all packaged very nicely. I'm stuttering
Neat
a lot.
and tidy.
I'm stuttering a lot this episode. What's going on? I'm stuttering. I don't know. I don't know. I really do like how Twitter feels, but I'm not good at tweeting. Like, I have no idea what the algorithm is, how to be famous on Twitter, how to get followers, how to make people like your Twitter, etc., etc. I have no idea. Yeah. And I guess...
What about you then? Oh, sorry, what?
No, you were saying?
Oh, I was just gonna ask you, do you prefer old school board games, card games, things like that, or modern video gaming?
What I like about modern video gaming that I don't like about board game, well, not some board games probably do. Single player. I know it sounds sad, but you having the option to play a game by yourself if you don't have anyone or if you want to kill some time, I think that's really, really what attracts me to video games. So I kind of
My friend, I would like to introduce you to Solitaire.
No, that's what I know. That's what I said. Like, some board games do, but is Solitaire really that fun?
We used to play. Well, actually, now that you mention it, we used to play Battle Solitaire, where it would be like five of us with five decks of cards,
Try to get there first.
and mm, sort of, you all play your own game of solitaire, but you can use anyone's aces.
Anyone's aces? Wow. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so like you sit in a big
cool. I
circle
get
and all
it.
the aces go in the middle.
What I do like about board games that I don't really like about video games, there's definitely a lot more interaction socially. Like you can see the person's expressions, face. There's a lot more than just staring at a screen, seeing a character do something. There's a lot more involved.
There's a lot more fear of repercussions. Like if you make someone angry, they'll punch you in the throat.
I guess. Teaches you
I'm
social
telling you,
skills
it's gonna
the
be a
hard way.
billion-dollar idea. I'm gonna develop a technique where you can punch someone through a computer screen, and I'll be a billionaire.
Jeez. You know, it actually is. I used to play. At least where I'm from, they call it cantazo, which is Spanish for hitting. Let me explain.
Okay,
So basically,
okay,
you divide the deck of cards among all the players equally. Say you have four players, so each one gets like a quarter of the deck, and you all throw cards. You all throw them on the table, and okay, for example, I would throw one in the center, and I would scream one. Then you would take another card, put it on top of that one, and you would scream two, and we just keep counting till we reach 10, and then repeat. Just one, two,
and
three,
then you
four.
start hitting each other.
No, okay. So you keep placing cards, and you keep counting amongst each other. And if someone places a card, and that card has the same number they shouted, the first one to hit it gets that deck of cards. However many cards are in that pile, and whoever gets all the cards first wins. So if it was just two players, then we would just count 1 to 10, like me 1, you 2, me 3, you 4, and if you get a card that says 4 and I hit it first before you hit it, then I get that deck of cards and eventually steal your cards.
So it's like slapjack, but without the jacks.
I guess so. It's pretty fun. So it definitely gets very hyper, and there are lots of bent cards in your deck afterwards. Yeah, it's
Lots of bent cards and lots of angry friends. No, I didn't call that.
Yeah, like I hit it first, damn it. But it's a fun game. You can't just touch the card. You gotta slap it out. I'm sorry to
Do
everyone.
you think?
Sorry to everyone listening, seeing me hit my desk.
Smacking your mic.
Yeah.
Do you think non-video games? I'm not counting sports, just like card games, table games, things like that.
Yeah.
Do you think they require more thought, like maybe higher intelligence than video games, or vice versa?
IQ 8000? No, I don't think so. I think the thing is
9001, get it straight.
Yeah. I don't think they require different levels of intelligence. I just think they require. Okay, wait. Let me rephrase that. I don't think they require higher or lower levels of intelligence. I just think they require different versions of intelligence. Like not higher or lower. Just maybe they're both just as smart. But video gaming, you have less input, but you have more micromanaging. Whereas in board games, you kind of have micromanaging like Dungeons and Dragons, but you have a lot more input and interaction with the actual game. So it gives you more different strategy options. Why can't I say that word?
Stratego.
Stratego. Yeah, it gives you more strategic options. I definitely think that though.
So do you think board games and the like are to video games what, say, books are to movies?
Wait, board games to what?
Board games are to video games what books are to movies. Do you think that?
No, not really. The only I mean, depends on what we're talking about. Well, I guess yes in a way, because Dungeons and Dragons can be translated into various RPGs. I guess the same style of format. But a lot of video games nowadays are very heavily inspired by other video games, such as The iconic Mario, or Sonic,
Sonic.
or Zoldo.
Good old Zaldo.
Yes. You know.
And that classic Zaldo sidekick, Navio.
Oh god. Navio.
Yeah.
And Princess
It's a
Long.
little
Princess Long.
Princess Long. I love Princess Long.
Yeah. Yeah. She's kind of ugly, but she's okay.
Zaldo has to climb the castle and rescue Princess Long from the giant fire-breathing lizard.
Yeah. King
Love
King
that
K.
game.
Rule.
Yeah, King K. Rool.
Hey Ubisoft, you can pay us later. Don't worry about it. We'll take the ad revenue later.
No, don't give it to Ubisoft. They'll turn it into a sandbox.
Yeah, that's true. Give it to what's a big company nowadays? Dear God, who made
Sega.
Oh, is Sega even still a thing? Like I know
I'm sure they sell something.
They distribute games. I know that. I know they're a distributor of video games.
Do they really?
Yeah, they are. They distribute some video games nowadays, but are they really like still in business? Like, are they still as big? Are they just kind of
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure they're doing great. They are selling tens of billions of dollars a year. Oh, actually, I'm getting word right now. They just lost their building. The bank is taking their microphones out of the building at this time.
Squeakers, we need to get you off the podcast. You destroy everyone's buildings.
They've taken the building. They're taking the video games. They're actually taking the copyrights as well. So Sega has nothing. We can't call them Sega.
Yeah, it's Nintendo now. Because Nintendo. It's always Nintendo.
It's the Nintendo branch of Sony.
Have you heard that supposedly, I think there's some rumors that Xbox Live is now coming to Nintendo Switch? I think Nintendo and Nintendo and Xbox, I think, are like teaming up. I don't know. I don't think they're merging, but I think they're turning into.
I could not fathom that because
Can you imagine?
Nintendo is so rabidly family friendly, and the Xbox social wing is so not.
Well, not really. The Nintendo Switch. I think the Nintendo Switch is like the edgy phase of Nintendo because.
We don't talk about Bayonetta.
No, they have no. They have a lot of very mature games on the Switch now, which in previous generations would not even have been thought of. Like some games, like Call of Duty, like Apex Legends, is on the Switch, and there's like a lot of third-party, very mature, very violent games on the Switch, which is surprising for Nintendo. So
I like that it took them the better part of 30 years to finally look outside and realize that video games have evolved.
Yeah, I know, but I do think that what we consider too edgy for Nintendo maybe like 5 years ago, at this point in time, it's just completely possible. So who knows? They might just merge with Microsoft and have like a little a little love child of the Nintendo Switch with Xbox Live.
I know they're doing a lot of stuff with Microsoft.
They are,
but it's more out of desperation than anything else. Nintendo and Microsoft, Nintendo's not really struggling in the way Microsoft is, but neither of them are doing near what Sony's pulling in.
Sony?
Oh, absolutely. Sony's just dominating the market.
Not really now. How so?
Yeah. I don't know if it's a combination of, I'm sure it's a combination of many factors actually, like releases, relationships with different companies, exclusives, things like that. Yeah. But Sony's just been on top for so long now, and Microsoft started falling behind. I think it was after the Xbox 360 they started really suffering.
Yeah, the Xbox 360 was it was a good console, but it was just not very good for sales. It was overall not a very successful console, especially since they had to re-release it with a better fan because they just got overheated all the time. No, yeah,
I had two that melted.
Yeah, but I gotta ask you though, since we're talking about consoles, What do you think is the better format for gaming? Do you think consoles will live as long as PC gaming, or do you think eventually PC gaming is just gonna kill console gaming?
I think I don't know that PC gaming is going to kill console gaming. I think console gaming is going to kill itself.
How so?
Because, well, you think originally the whole point of a console was it's cheaper, it's easier to the layman, it's faster, it's just all around better than playing on a PC.
Yeah.
But in recent years, we'll say from arguably the Xbox PS2 age, but really in the 360 and PS3 age,
Yeah.
you put a game in, and you're going to be waiting half an hour for updates and loading screens and home pages
And the
and
graphics aren't I mean, okay, granted, graphics aren't the most important thing in the game, but they are considerably worse in console. You know, I think a console usually has. I mean, to be fair, PCs are very customizable, so I do think that it's a bit unfair to say the console just can't keep up with the PC, because you don't really know. I mean, people make their own PCs. It's like having your own car. You buy your own PC. You can add whatever you want to it. You can make it as powerful as you want. You can make it as cheap as you want. And like, game designers that make games for the PC don't really take that into consideration because they don't have to. Because usually people nowadays have pretty good computers that can run their games, even though they're demanding. Like, they don't really take into consideration where console gaming, they know what they're working with, so they have to take that into consideration, and they know their limitations. And usually those limitations are pretty limiting, no pun intended. They're pretty limiting, and they're very bad for the gaming side of things. But I will admit, I do like gaming with a controller a bit more than a keyboard and a mouse. It feels natural. I don't know why. I don't know how to explain it.
well, conveniently, in PC gaming, you almost always have option menus where you can rebind keys, switch to controllers.
That too, yeah. And you can like emulate.
But I feel like consoles as an idea, their time is pretty much over with. They're no longer faster. They're no longer cheaper.
And
I mean, why would you spend $600, $700 on a console that might have really powerful graphics technology but a really terrible CPU? And you could go spend $800 on a pretty sweet gaming PC that's going to last you for 10 years before you have to worry about really replacing parts.
yeah, and the thing is, a lot of people, what they do, I've been on a YouTube marathon of homebrew consoles. The Raspberry Pi is one of the most used components, and it's really cheap. I mean, like, it's extremely cheap, and people can make like pretty powerful consoles with them. And I mean, like, tiny consoles that you can place in your TV room. You can place it. Some people even like Velcro them to the TV because they're so small, and they can run some pretty powerful games off of them. Granted, usually they're a bit pirated, so I don't support that. But it is amazing how we can, at home, with the actual price of the console or less, we can make something even better that can run games far more demanding than what the console has in its library. Like, overall, it's just better to make your own console/PC.
There is one company that I've really just started learning about, but they're called Tencent. Have you ever heard of them?
No, not really.
And see, that's surprising because it's surprising to me. They are apparently, at least as of I think 2017, the most valuable gaming company in the world.
Really?
Let me see. Let me check the
crap.
date on this.
Hold up, I gotta set my status to do not disturb. Okay, never mind. Whatever.
I'm not. I don't know when this is. but it's got listed a bunch of different companies showing their quarterly income and then the total value and change over last year. Oh, here we go. As of September 2018. So in September 2018, Tencent beat out uh, Sony's gaming division. Let's see, Apple, Microsoft,
Wow.
NetEase, Google, Activision, Blizzard, EA, Nintendo, all of them.
How we never hear of
Uh,
them? Like, how underground are they? Are they like just famous in another country or something?
they are Chinese,
Oh.
which is one thing to think about. So obviously they're communist, but they're scary. They own everything.
Everything?
Like they own everything. Name a thing, they own it. Like
Nintendo?
they launched their own bank because of course you would.
Wait, but do they like own
Um,
Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft?
no, but they have their fingers in everything. Let me see here. So they've got their own bank. They've signed at least $700 million with the NBA.
Whoa.
They own almost all of League of Legends. I think like 90% or so.
Uh, yeah, but that's just one game. So,
Let's see what else we got here.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, League of Legends is a good game. I haven't played yet, so I can't really say. I'm pretty sure it's a good game. I've heard a lot of people praise it, but I mean, you can own a game, but I don't think you can. I mean, I think the company still says like what to
They
do.
they own exclusive rights to PlayerUnknown Battleground in China.
PUBG?
Um, they own 10% of Spotify.
So they don't really like. They don't really own it. They just own part of it.
They don't make anything, but they have large portions of many extremely powerful companies.
So,
And
but like, I just
that's enough.
it's question. The question is like, how do they get their income? Because if you're a big company, I can't just I can't just like put my fingers around your business. That sounds wrong. I can and just like take some of your money. There's got to be a reason why they're on board with all these companies, so they got to do something. Like,
Well, I mean, that's sort of the idea of these sorts of companies, isn't it? You go into a company, gobble them up, give them all sorts of money and resources, and in return, you get return on investment.
I guess.
So the better that company does, the more money you make. And these guys just sit there and make money.
So they just buy what's technically
Absolutely.
they buy what's part of their company and they just give it back. What? I'm confused.
Well, they go and buy publicly traded companies, via stocks. And occasionally they'll do
Okay.
private
So it's
deals.
just stocks. Okay. That's
And
not.
they'll end up owning a majority stake in the company. Therefore, they basically get to say what happens. But it seems like they don't say what happens. They just go, we're going to give you lots and lots of money. You technically belong to us, but you just do whatever you want. You've been making money so far. Just make sure we get some of that now. They even made their own games console called the Blade. Yeah, pretty much. They made their own games console called the Blade. It was a Windows 10 machine, and they license all of their Tencent games, like League of Legends, FIFA, NBA 2K, Monster Hunter, Need for Speed, PlayerUnknown.
Oh, that is scary. What the heck?
Yeah, like they own so much.
Oh, jeez, that's what scares me about society. Is there's just you never know who's really on top. Because you can go as high up as the president. No, there's always someone higher than the president of the United States. There's probably the council, and there's probably someone above the council, and you just never know who's really at the top. And that's just scary.
It seems like this company pretty much owns everything involving China, and that's why we've never heard of it.
China, of course. So, okay.
They own exclusive China distribution rights for music producers, Sony, Warner, YG, Universal. They own all of the rights for that,
Wow, jeez. So, okay,
but only in China.
moving on from that scary topic, what do you think? What's in gaming? It can be video gaming or traditional gaming, I guess. What is something when you hear the word gaming? What's the most iconic thing to you specifically? What's like the most
Mario, and I don't know why.
Well, okay. To be fair, Mario's Mario. He's the biggest character in all of gaming for some reason, which is weird because if you think about it, Mario's just some Italian plumber who's saving a princess. And the thing is, character design wise, what the heck is an Italian plumber doing saving a princess? If you think about it, from a chimera, no less.
Saving Princess Lunk.
Yes, Princess Lunk. But if you think about what about Bowser? What inspired Bowser out of all things? And please don't say Doug
I
Bowser.
think Bowser is the more interesting character because
Yeah, he just kind of came out of nowhere.
Mario just kind of ghosts through life. He's the universe's chew toy. But Bowser, there's a guy that he's just evil. He's mean, he's evil, he wants to see the world burn.
If you think about it, actually, I gotta disagree with you there. There's a lot of lore in the Mario games that shows Bowser's true intentions. He's actually not that evil. He does evil things because that's how he knows how to do them, but he's not naturally evil. Most of the things he does is for Bowser Jr. and the Koopalings. If you look at the original Mario game, those are his. I think they're his children, or they're related in some way. And he does everything.
Every time he steals Peach, he magically ends up with a new one.
We're not going there. We're moving on from that. But he usually steals Peach for. I mean, I know it's wrong, obviously, but he does it for Bowser Jr.
I like that we're saying he steals Peach. She's just a stuffed doll sitting on the throne. Just, our Peach has been stolen again. Call Mario.
Well, at this point, she kind of is.
Call Mario. We need our Peach back.
At this point, she kind of is. I mean, I'm not trying to say anything wrong about Peach, but what else do we know from her? What else do we know about her other than, oh, she's the princess that got stolen? There's only
she's the prettiest mushroom in the kingdom.
Yeah, but we don't really see her do anything, or well, I guess some games incorporate her and give her some lore, but when people think about Peach, I don't really think about someone who's I don't really think about a person that's very deep. It's not a very deep character. Yeah, she's not.
There's not much going on there.
No, if anything, we know more about Rosalina than other characters, and she's only been in 1 or 2 actual games.
Wasn't she in Donkey Kong?
Rosalina, no. Rosalina's the space princess.
Who was in Donkey Kong?
Paulina.
Paulina, that's right. Mayor Paulina.
Yeah, Paulina, the
Mario's first love.
Yes, who was in the original Donkey Kong and apparently came back to take Mario away from Peach. And also, wait, can we just talk about how in Super Mario Land, Mario saves Daisy and not Peach? And then he goes first it's Paulina, then Peach, then Daisy, then back to Peach, and now Paulina again. We're going full circle.
And Luigi doesn't get any of them, does he?
Nah. Oh, I guess he kind of gets Daisy sometimes, but more of a side chick.
Poor Luigi.
Poor
Luigi.
Luigi is best man.
Luigi and Mario.
I always like playing as Luigi more because I feel like he's the I guess he's the more relatable Mario.
Oh yeah, he's a much deeper character. Wait, is his name Luigi Mario?
Well, they're the Mario brothers, so.
Yeah. So is he Luigi Mario and the other one's Mario Mario?
That'd be weird, but I guess so. I mean, we don't really ever hear their actual name. I mean, isn't that how it works? Like, usually say the last name, then brothers. Like, the blank brothers, or the Doveran brothers or something. So I
So does
guess
that mean since Yoshi's their pet, essentially a dog, that on his AKC papers he'd be Yoshi Mario?
he's a dinosaur, so I guess so. It's weird. Mario's just weird overall. But seriously, what the heck is with all these characters just being saved by Mario? Like, what can we just get a little bit of explanation as to why, and not just have him save them for no reason? Like, okay,
Because he's just so cool, you guys know really.
I guess so. Why can't Luigi save Paulina or Daisy? Why can't Waluigi? Why can't Wario do it? Why can't Wario do it?
Can't Waluigi do it? Wah!
That'd be cool. I would play that game. Super Waluigi Brothers. I would play that.
Oh god.
We have
Waluigi just the whole game is like levels like hiding in the girls' restroom and
Oh my God.
licking doorknobs.
Jeez. No. Oh wait, crap. Hold up.
Wah!
We're good. I had to charge my laptop. But that's just, I mean, I would totally play that. Because that feels like a fun game. And I think there we have Wario Land, which is... No, we do. We have Wario Land, so, you know, why not Waluigi Land or something?
Because you walk in the door, the first thing is take off your shoes and socks, put them in the basket.
Ugh.
Wow.
Wait, I visually imagined Waluigi being very satisfied with smelling feet.
Waluigi is, in my mind, just disgusting and horrible.
I don't know. I do like them though. Do you remember? You probably played Mario Tennis on the GameCube. Please tell me you did.
I didn't. I've
Oh,
actually
man.
only ever played like 2 Mario games.
Oh man, that's one of the best Mario sports games. Mario Tennis for the GameCube. It's so fun. The cutscenes are amazing.
Mario Tennis.
They were so dedicated and they loved the game so much. It's a really good game, and they loved it so much they even made bloopers. Like they animated bloopers for this game. That's how much dedication went into it.
So Mario is basically a non-entity at this point. You'll just slap his face on any old thing.
Yeah, I guess so. And I think that's most characters nowadays, because Sonic and... luckily Zelda hasn't had any, thank God. But... Sonic
Princess Long.
Princess Long, yes. You know, I will say though, some of them are fun to play, but it does get tiring after a while, you're right.
I find that it seems to be the secondary characters in their spin-off games that are the most enjoyable. I don't know if it's just because it's a break of form, or if it's actually genuinely good because it's not the full company usually working on it, it's a smaller group within. But you get games like Yoshi's Island and Yoshi's Woolly World, and then you have
Those are amazing.
Luigi's Haunted Mansion.
Oh my God, best game ever.
Like, you get all these side games that end up being really fun, have a lot of heart put into them, and a lot of effort, and a lot of care, obviously.
Yeah.
And you just think, now why couldn't you do that with the main one?
I don't know. I guess the thing is, okay, when you're working the main one, you're trying to find out what works with the main one so that when it sticks, people think of the main one. Does that make sense? Like, you experiment with the main one till you get something that works, you stick the main one's phase on it, then you can do other stuff that works as well. But it just ends up working in the favor of the secondary characters. It's really weird.
So it's kind of like the Portal paradox, if you could call it that. The Portal thing with Valve.
Yeah,
where...
Portal and Team Fortress 2, they were both part of the orange box.
But we've got a game like Half-Life, which is very big, very revolutionary for its time,
Yeah.
but also very much designed to be mass appeal. They wanted as many people to like that game as possible. It was their flagship. That was the game to get.
Yeah,
And
that was the main game that they were trying to sell.
Yeah. And then there's this tiny secondary little group within the company that has to whip something together real quick. But it turns out these people are really enjoying what they're doing. They're putting a lot of heart into it, a lot of time and
Oops, we
care.
made a masterpiece.
And they put out this little nothing game that lasts all of 3 hours, but that is just rock solid top to bottom, and it turns out overshadowing everything else made since.
Yeah, and Team Fortress 2 is still going. I mean, it's still going on to this day. Team Fortress 2 is still one of the most played games in the Steam store. It's still one of the most famous games in all of gaming. Like, when you think about it, it's one of the biggest titans in gaming next to Minecraft and Mario and Sonic. Like, when you think...
I feel like...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead.
Well, I feel like games like Portal, and especially Portal, are... I don't know if an indicator is the right word, but it's obvious that people loved them. They did what they did very, very well. And
Yes.
it's not because they were just mass appealing, generally acceptable gray cardboard boxes. It's because they were niche, they were very special, and they did the one thing they liked really, really, really well. And that meant people loved it. People want that kind of game. They'll never say that because games like Fortnite and PlayerUnknown and Call of Duty, they just keep pumping them out.
I
Look at
understand
every
that.
Ubisoft sandbox.
I don't understand why it's so shame. I mean, if we liked retro gaming before, why can't we like what? Okay, so if retro
Because
gaming,
video games are technological cocaine.
I guess
They
so.
are trying to cut it and dilute it and make it as generally appealing as possible and as generally addicting as possible. So you just get that little scratch.
Yeah.
But then you have a game come along like Portal or any other little like Undertale, things like that, that focus on one thing and do it very, very well. And suddenly you're hardlining this stuff. Like, this is perfect. This is the big dose, the good stuff.
I mean, yeah, it's amazing. And
Yeah, and then people suddenly wake up from their stupor of staring at gray cardboard boxes and Space Marines all the time and
like,
go,
wow, this is
whoa,
actually
this
a
is what
good
it's like to
game.
have fun? Yeah,
The
I've
thing
forgotten what it felt like to have fun and engage with a character.
What I don't understand though is like games from the 2000s are considered terrible, but there's some pretty good games in there.
There's also a lot of really bad ones because it's sort of post-experimental, interesting indie era. And
yeah,
sort of
but like, why is it shameful to play games from that era? Like, there's some really good games from that era. Why is it like, why is retro gaming okay, but 2000s gaming like weird? I don't know.
Because we're at that age. In about 10 years, people will be looking back at 2000s gaming as retro gaming, and
I guess
people
so.
will say, "Oh yeah, playing games on the PS3 and the Xbox. Those were the days."
Yeah, and I have a bit of a unpopular opinion, but
Uh-oh. Call the police.
I actually really liked Sonic Heroes. It was my actual. That was like, okay, my first ever video game was Super Mario Bros. 3 for the Game Boy Advanced SP, but my first ever console game was Sonic Heroes for the GameCube. I fell in love. I mean, it felt like such a huge. You look at the game, especially the ending of the game. It is enormous for the GameCube. Like if you look at the worlds in Sonic Heroes, they're enormous and they're so huge and there's so much to do and so many places to go and run and see. Yes, Sonic games are usually very linear, and this one's no exception. This one's very linear. It tells you where to go and you can't go anywhere. You can't really stray much from it. But there's a lot of things to do, and it's very common to see character specific paths. So say you're using Sonic as a speed character, there's a lot of speed paths, and if you're using Tails, you can fly to this path, or you use Knuckles, you can punch your way over to this path. And there's various ways to complete levels. Yeah, what?
You know.
Yeah.
The way.
But there's a lot of ways to like finish the game, and there's a lot of stuff to do. So it's overall really fun. But the ending of the game, my god, it's a little janky. I will admit. It's a little janky, but it was so much fun just seeing Sonic and friends just run around this. I mean, whenever you can, just look it up on YouTube. It is enormous. It probably was just a skybox They probably just put a texture on the skybox, but it felt so big that I literally thought, "Holy crap! How did they fit such a big world into this little game? Like, how long did it take them to make that?" Even back then, I was thinking about how did they make this, and seeing the ending of that game, the ship Eggman has at the end of the game. Spoiler alert: the ship he has at the end of the game, it's so enormous. It doesn't. It feels like it's a country. I'm not even kidding. Imagine GTA. Imagine the map of GTA, maybe San Andreas, I'd say. Imagine that flying in the sky. That's how big it felt. That's how the ending of the game felt. That's how big it felt. Like, it was enormous. Yeah?
I am there.
Yeah. I'm probably just babbling about this game, but I just really like it. It's one of my favorite games, and it was my first game, which was on the GameCube. So I have very, very fond memories of it, and I gotta say it's one of my favorites, because honestly, it's just, I love it so much. It's such a good game.
You might be biased slightly.
A little bit, but I played it again recently, emulated, and it's really good. I like it. I have fun playing it, even if it's emulated 10 years after it was already made.
I don't know that I've ever played a Sonic game.
I would definitely say start off with oh, Sonic Riders is amazing. Sonic Riders is a really freaking good game. It's also a GameCube game that involves, it's a racing game, but it's very balanced and it's very tweaked so that each character feels balanced, but they have their own unique features.
Was that the
Hoverboard
Sonic
one.
answer to Mario Kart?
I guess so, but it was a freaking amazing
Mario
answer.
Kart.
It was an amazing answer, though. I gotta say, the story's weird. Just look it up.
Mario Kart even have a story?
I think some of them do, some of them don't. I think the original SNES one didn't. Wow, I can't believe it's...
Yeah, but to be fair, back then, nothing had a story because the story was too expensive and we didn't have enough space on our floppy disks.
The floppy disk, jeez. You know, I still remember using one of those, which is weird to think it's been so long at this point. Yeah. So what do you think is
cartridge gaming.
What do you think is your favorite game? Like, what would you say overall is your favorite video game or traditional game? Or game in general?
Well, my favorite non-video game would probably be that's kind of a tough one because there's a lot I like, but then obviously there's the issue of having to play it with people, and you might not like playing a game with a certain person.
Yeah.
Like, I personally love Scrabble and Bananagrams, any game like that.
Bananagrams.
But I can't play it with someone who's dumb. It's just Scrabble, but without anything.
Can't play with a dummy.
Yeah, you can't play with a dum-dum, because then they don't know any words and it's too easy. But then you can't play with someone too much smarter than you, like my cousins, because then they start whipping out words from like 4 different languages. And that's not fair.
Yeah, that's true. Because like some people do that in Scrabble. They like, especially if you're bilingual, a lot of people just put different languages there and like, wait, what? No. English or Spanish?
Yeah, my cousins know so many languages: Chinese, German, French, Spanish.
I'm trying to learn French myself. Give me a break. I only
trying to learn English.
I've learned English very well, thank you.
Hola, señoro. I can't understand you. You gotta speak el Englisho. You stop with that. But I mean, Scrabble's a good one. I do enjoy Scrabble. I'll play Monopoly, but my friends and I play a take on Monopoly that we call Strip Monopoly.
Family friendly.
Yeah. Oh, it's family friendly up until you lose all your money.
You know, there's actually
And
a rule in Monopoly I heard that makes the games last like maybe 20 minutes. I think the reason it takes so long to play Monopoly is because a lot of people do it wrong. I hear there's like a rule that makes it really short.
there are a lot of different ways you can change up Monopoly to make it quicker, like
Yeah.
speed games and limited rotations, things like that. But we're always in it for the long haul. My
Yeah.
dad, he told me a story about when he was younger, him and my uncles were playing a game of Risk, and it lasted like 3 weeks.
What?
Yeah, like
On and off.
every day they'd get up, they'd go to the table, and they'd play their Risk game. They all had to check over it, make sure no one moved any pieces in the night.
And this went on for the entire day.
Most of the entire day, until their
Jeez.
parents would come around and just kick them out of the house. Go outside and climb a tree. Get out.
Dang, that's
Go
a
do
long
something
game.
productive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Risk can take forever.
Eesh. So, small question. What do you prefer? Do you prefer if you didn't have any video games to play, do you prefer playing a board game or sport?
Definitely not a sport because I am lazy.
You never played. I think I'm not sure what you guys call it. I call it Shark. Basically, there's three or more people at one side of the yard, and there's one person. Basically, well, technically the shark. I call him the goalie, but that's what he looks like. There's three people or more at the end of the yard, and at the other end there's the shark, and behind the shark is the treasure. So basically, the three people try to run around the yard. The shark has to try to catch them, him alone or her alone, whoever. They have to try to catch him, and if the shark catches you, you're dead, obviously, and you can't play anymore. You're eliminated. But the three people have to try to like get the treasure, but the shark has to protect the treasure. But he also has to eat people. Does that sound familiar to you?
It doesn't. It sounds like it would be fun about twice, and then some idiot would work out the meta of just sitting on the treasure.
Well, not really, because the shark can't stay still too long. He'll die. That's another rule of the game.
Oh, I didn't know there was a rule book. I'm gonna have to print the pamphlet.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a very thought out game, but it's really fun. Because, like, you can't, obviously, it's very realistic, because sharks can't stay still or they'll die, and usually sharks chase people. So you can't really stay still.
And they're notorious for standing on dry land in the middle of my yard.
Really?
Oh yeah, especially when a hurricane comes through.
Yeah, but that's basically the meta of the game. You can't really stay still. But it's really fun. It's not as fun if you're the shark, obviously, but if you're one of the treasure hunters, then yeah.
We would probably have upped the stakes a little bit and either included long pointy sticks to use as harpoons or airsoft guns.
Ow.
Yeah, we didn't have paintball guns when I was a kid. We all just had airsoft guns, running around shooting each other.
I actually never shot any of that. I've never had a gun, period. I've only had bow and arrows.
They're cool.
I
do like bow and arrow too, though.
You ever have like a friend like have their arrow like put it like
never.
Okay, so a friend of mine would just like have a bow and arrow, like one of those toy ones that had like a suction cup at the end, and the game was just like he was just shooting us with the bow and arrow, and we had to try to avoid him. But he had good aim.
One of my deliveries when I used to work for a pizza place in town, I pulled up to a house and there were all these little kids outside shooting each other with the little plastic bow and arrow with the suction cups.
Yeah.
And they all came like circling around my truck whenever I pulled up because obviously I had the food.
Yeah.
And I looked at one of the kids that I guess was supposed to be like the chief, the team leader. He had feathers in his hair. And I was like, bet you can't hit my window from there. And freaking hell, I think I must have called in the firing squad because their arrows blotted out the sun. All these little plastic red suction cups flying at my truck.
Ready? Fire!
Firemen! Like, They turned my truck into a porcupine. I had little red suction cups all over the windows, all over the hood, all over the door.
That must have been hilarious. Oh my god.
Their parents were looking on horrified, and I was just like...
Well, I mean, it's harmless.
Yeah.
They're just suction cups arrows. You can just pop them off.
Hell, with that truck, you could use real arrows, and it hardly would have mattered.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a harmless prank,
was a
but it would have been funny just seeing you so confident, just coming up to the kid like, but you can't hit it, and just this firing squad of arrows behind them. It must have been hilarious. Oh god. You know, talk about that. There weren't really that many games, now I think about it. Does a toy count as a game? Like having a toy. Would that count as a game? Because you're playing with it, technically. I don't know.
I don't know, what about a board game that has little toy pieces?
Well, yeah, but you're using it for a board game.
Yeah, but if you're using a toy to play a game, are you just doing it without the board?
What?
At what point does a thing stop being a toy and become a game?
Good question. That's actually a really good question. Because I don't know.
Like,
'Cause...
my He-Man action figure would have been a toy, but if I played Army Men with my He-Man as the general, was I then playing a game?
I guess
Wait.
so?
I've confused myself.
Yeah. So, what do you think is like the best generation of gaming?
I tend to lean towards like N64 into the PS2 era.
Oh, of course you
You hush.
do.
I didn't have a GameCube because I was not a big dumb baby babby.
Oh my god, but the GameCube was just such a good console. I love the
I
GameCube.
didn't have the purple lunchbox. I had
Okay, I will admit,
big
it is
scary
purple
black
Xbox.
N64. Yes. Had a little handle on it and everything.
Yeah, actually, yeah, okay, I will admit it was a little lunchbox. The controller was amazing though. I mean, the N64 controller is cool and all, but the GameCube controller is just overall better.
I think you're the only person who has ever said the N64 controller was cool.
I mean, it looks cool. I didn't really get to play much. I played some N64 as a kid, but not really that much. Like I played.
It looks like a spaceship, and that makes sense because you have to be a spider person to be able to hold it.
I guess so. The joystick was a bit weird though. The joystick was just bad.
Well, you needed 3 hands to use the thing. I don't have that many hands or friends.
Why did they do that? I don't get that. I remember the first time I had an X64 controller in my hand, I spent like an hour just figuring out how to hold it. I'm not even joking. Like
Because Nintendo, as weird as some of their decisions are, and as absolutely terrified of human interaction and the outdoors they are, they at least have always tried to focus on innovation and making fun things.
And it was weird.
It doesn't always work. You get Nintendo Labo occasionally, but they're at least attempting to make a fun thing that's different from just Space Marines ducking behind chest-high walls.
That is true. Nintendo is very, very innovative. I gotta say that. I gotta admit, I love that about them. They're very innovative in what they do, and I wish that they never stop doing that. But
they're innovative when they want to be. Otherwise, they just re-release Princess Lonk and Mario again.
Mario. Morrow. They released Morrow.
Morrow.
Yeah.
Morrow, Princess Lonk, and
Zaldo.
the other one. Dinky King.
Dinky King. Dinky Kink.
Dinky Kinky. That's right. There we go.
I do, but overall, I think. Did you remember the first time you saw the GameCube controller? You were like, "What the heck is going on with the A button?" It was very
I
useful.
remember seeing those bright colors and immediately remembering my big ugly gray N64 with its big ugly gray cartridges and its big ugly gray controller.
I
was just like, ain't having none of this color in my house.
That was weird though. Why did they choose to make like video game discs were usually normal sized. Why did they choose to go like these tiny discs?
I feel like they were overcompensating.
But
The
then,
N64 was them trying to pretend they're all serious, because, I mean, you think the Switch has some serious games. Remember the N64?
oh
All the
yeah, it's a
games they
rough.
got from Rare, like Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Holy crap, Conker's Bad Fur
Yeah.
Day. I never got to play it,
So
but
remember
I think.
that period. It was an
Yeah.
excellent game. One of my favorite games of all time.
I
It's
want
right
to
up there
play
with
it. I
Golden
want to
Sun.
buy an S64 just to play Conker's Bad Fur Day. It looks like
That
such a cool
might be
game.
expensive. It'd probably be cheaper for you to get an Xbox and get Conker's Live and Reloaded.
Nah,
It's the same game with higher graphics.
I want to play the original.
The original's very good, but you're going to be shelling out over $100 for the cartridge.
Don't really care. I'm a collector. I want to be a collector actually. That'd be cool. Like not a serious collector, just have some knickknacks here and there. Definitely buy a GameCube, because that's like, of course, it's a GameCube.
Yeah, but Nintendo was very serious with their N64. It was fairly innovative, but the whole point was all the games everyone was developing for it as nightmarish as developing for a cartridge is.
Yeah.
And they had all these really serious, really fun, some colorful games on there. And then you come out with the GameCube, and they're like, okay, now
Tiny
the
disc.
64 did well, but what can we do to change the formula a bit? How about we put out the exact literal opposite of what an N64 is? Perfect. I love it. Let's do that.
I will say though, I do think they could have gone with regular sized discs. Because if you think about it, a regular sized disc would have fit higher graphics and better coding and even bigger games on it. So they could have just gone with that. But they chose to
I
make
wonder if.
Yeah.
Well, you can finish. I have to interrupt because latency.
It's okay. No, I was just saying, like, at the time, the discs that were on like PS2s and PS2s and like Xbox and Xbox 360s, they were fairly big and they fit a lot of stuff in there. So I don't really see why they chose to have such a tiny disc, because the only thing it does is just give you less space to make a game. Like if you want to make a game, why not just go regular size and have more stuff on it, and like it's overall a better
Well, I'm
game.
wondering if maybe they had an early case of what Microsoft was dealing with
Was it?
the N64, and then in the future the Xbox with Microsoft was big and scary and dark and big spooky controller.
Oh my god,
and maybe
yeah, the
it scared
Xbox
away.
controller was just weird.
Yeah, the Duke, I loved it.
The
But
Duke.
maybe they just scared away too much of their Asian and specifically Japanese base.
Wait, what?
So then they came out with the GameCube, which is pretty much Japan as a games console.
What?
Well, I mean, it's a thing. That was the whole point behind the Xbox switch to the 360 format, because the Xbox, if you remember, even the loading screen was scary. It was all black and green and matrixy with bass and explosions.
That was weird. That was
And-
weird.
The Xbox didn't do well in Japan because it was big and scary and dark.
Japan's
So then the
scary.
360, yeah, they were terrified. But then the 360 comes out, and it's sleek and it's white and it's friendly and it's got nice little chippy noises. Like they were trying to win back their Japanese crowd. And I wonder if Nintendo did something similar with the 64 and the GameCube. Like,
I don't
oh,
think
we
so.
scared away Japan. Let's make a bright, colorful, cute little console to win them back.
It was very compact though, I will admit that. It was very nice to just have this little cube you could plug in to your TV, have it sit right next to it, not have to have like huge bulky consoles. Just this nice little lunchbox next to your TV with these tiny discs. I guess you're right in that aspect now I think about it.
Yeah, because you think about the GameCube, everything is smaller than it was previously. Smaller controller, smaller console, smaller discs.
I will say though, what the heck was that Game Boy GameCube crossover? What the heck was that for?
Oh, there's no telling.
Now, what do you think is like your favorite genre of video gaming? First person shooter, RPGs, adventure, sandbox?
It switches back and forth. Like, I remember back in the day, I absolutely loved playing Pokemon Yellow on my Game Boy Color.
I have Pokemon Yellow on my 3DS. I play it every night.
It's very good.
Yes.
And relatedly, the Game Boy and Game Boy Color is the third best-selling console of all time.
Wow. to this day.
Almost 120 million units.
Wow. Do they still sell them?
Probably.
That's interesting.
Nintendo's really good at moving units, at least since like those days. Like the Game Boy is number 3, and the DS is number 2 at 150 million.
Wow, yeah, I remember the DS. I remember the first time you saw it, it was just so... Okay, if you ever had a Wii, did you ever... Oh my god, I forget the name. I forget the name of the channel. There was a Wii channel on the original Wii that basically gave you unlimited demos of games. I would just whip out my DS and always go to that channel on my Wii and just get infinite demos for weird games I always wanted, but never really got.
God, I thought you were gonna say you're just gonna whip out your Wii.
No.
Family friendly.
Family friendly. No, I mean like, I always used my Wii just to get demos for my DS for games I was never able to get. I would just play the demo constantly.
Whatever happened to demos?
I don't
like. I'm looking at the list of best-selling consoles of all time.
I guess,
and it's a really mixed list. Like the Wii is almost tied with the original PlayStation.
Really?
Yeah, but then you've got like the PlayStation 2 is number 1, and it's almost tied with the Nintendo DS. There's so much variance in.
I think the DS was
what
just one of
seems
the
to be
best.
popular.
I think the DS was just one of the best hand consoles Nintendo's ever sold. It was just overall very nice because it was small, it was compact, it was dual screen, which was interesting for the time. The bottom one being touchscreen, and it was pretty affordable for its time. And I can't really think of too many handheld consoles. I mean, before iPhones became a thing, I can't really think of many handheld consoles other than the Game Boy Advance SP that really came close to that really nice DS experience. Like it was very good experience just playing on DS.
But then you look back at consoles like the GameCube, and it sold almost 100 million less than the Game Boy.
I guess, like I said, it was just affordable. It was smaller, it was more compact, and you could take it anywhere. The GameCube is just kind of like a standalone console.
Yeah, and I guess it also has a lot to do with games, doesn't it? Like PS2, obviously, it had every game under the sun. Nintendo DS and Game Boy had a lot of niche games and a lot of ported games.
Yeah, there's
but
a lot of
GameCube
games.
kind of did.
Yeah. I will say though, it was surprising that the Game Boy could hold such big games like Super Mario Land 2. That was a very big game for the Game Boy. I mean, even for the time, it was impressive because it was like open-ended and it wasn't linear, which was surprising for a Mario game. You could go anywhere and do anything in any order. And there were different worlds, different things, and it was surprising, I gotta say. And there was gambling too. Yeah, but I never really had a Game Boy. I had the Game Boy Advanced. But I think honestly, the portability is what really sells something, because iPhone games and phone games in general became very popular because they were on your phone. You could play them anywhere at any time. You didn't really have to have a TV and a controller and a console that was just there. You could just go to wherever, play whatever game for however long you wanted, turn off your phone, and keep playing later. And I think
What do you think ended up happening with the Switch then? Because, at least according to this list, it's far behind even the PSP.
Okay, to be fair, the PSP is a lot older than the Nintendo Switch. And just remember one thing.
It's also a lot garbage.
Yeah, but just remember one thing: the Nintendo Switch came out in 2017. It's only been it's been less than 2 years, and it's already one of the best-selling consoles Nintendo's ever had. So just keep that in mind. It's one of the best-selling consoles Nintendo ever had, but it's still very young. Trust me. I bet in like 5 years that list is gonna change, and Nintendo Switch is gonna be at least number 4.
Let's hope so, because right now it's pretty much tied with the N64 and Sega Genesis.
I do gotta say though, it was ingenious to make the Nintendo Switch because it's the perfect balance of portability, but also a home console. That was just, I don't know, when I heard it, I was like, how did no one ever think of this before? Like, how is this just only coming out now? Because it's literally, it's so perfect. When you think about it,
I think they really flubbed the announcement of it, though,
why do you think that?
because everyone was expecting from press releases and from copyrights filed or trademarks filed
Yep.
at the patent office. People dig that kind of crap up. But everything had us believing that it was going to be this massively powerful, cloud based, bring it anywhere super system that was going to blow the pants off of Sony and Microsoft and all of them.
Most Nintendo.
And then, as more information of it started coming out, they started saying, well, no, we wanted to do that, but we realized to make the size right, we had to cut back on this. And it turns out just to be a little squit compared to what we were expecting. I feel like they would have only benefited from having told us less about it before it was finished.
Well, to be fair, I mean, it can still run pretty heavy games. I mean, it can run Doom at pretty high graphics, and it can run games. What?
Yeah, but no one would ever accuse the Switch of being a very good-looking console,
Well,
graphic-wise.
well, in terms of portable gaming, no. But in terms of TV gaming, you can. I mean, I've played on the Switch. I have a Bama Bear. I went to his house and played on the Switch, and it looks pretty good. I gotta admit, even for a console such as the Switch.
It definitely looks good, but a qualifier I hear pretty much constantly from like one of my friends. He's a huge Nintendo fan, waits in line for hours to get the newest Nintendo plushies and all that crap.
Yeah.
And from all of his friends and people online, is you always hear the Nintendo Switch is great or powerful or it looks fantastic for a insert qualifier here, for a Nintendo thing, for a portable, for a this, for a that. There's always some qualifier. It looks great for this or for that.
No, obviously it doesn't compare to the Xbox or PS, but the thing is, Nintendo has never really been about being the best in the market. It's only been about, like, it's focused more on the actual content in it than how the content is. Like, for example,
Yeah, and that's true. Nintendo always focuses on making fun things that are fun to play, but I just feel like someone needs to take their marketing department behind the bike shed because we were expecting the next supercomputer from Nintendo and we got the Switch.
well, did they ever really say like this is gonna be incredibly powerful? Like, did they ever state that?
There was a lot of talk. I'll have to do a little bit of searching for it.
Yeah, because I
But
mean,
I
unless the
remember a lot
actual
of press
company,
releases.
like, people are gonna say all kinds of things. So unless the actual company says that and then it doesn't work, then you have an argument. But if it's just people talking without the company's knowledge of them talking, then that's not really fair for the company, is it? Like, it's not really fair if you say something about me and people think it's true, but I didn't even know you said that. So how is that fair for me to get punished? If I didn't even know you said that, you know, it's that kind of logic. That makes
They better live up to my expectations, or I'm gonna punch them.
sense? Yeah, but I mean, they're gonna tell you what to expect. You can't just listen to someone else who says no, they're gonna do this, because no, unless they tell you specifically they're gonna do it, they're not gonna do it. So, yeah.
I
But
mean, I forget it was called the NX for a while, wasn't it?
NX? Oh yeah, it was. Holy crap! I remember the NX. Wow. But I do think
I was trying to think of the best way to search it, and I knew it had a code name. I just couldn't remember what it was.
I do think though it's one of the best consoles in gaming history, honestly, because it's very portable, but it's not too small, but it's not too weak, but it's a home console and a portable console, but it has a nice big 720 screen. I know it's not HD, duh. I mean not 4K, duh. But Even though you don't really need 4K for gaming if you're having fun. And it's one of the best-selling consoles, I think, from Nintendo. And it's only been less than 2 years, and it's already a bestseller. Compared to the Wii U, which was just a mess. The Wii U was just, what? Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?
But again, as doo-doo as the Wii and the Wii U were,
No, the Wii is
it
pretty
was
good. The
Nintendo
Wii U was just
trying
weird.
something new.
Yeah, that's true. But the game, I just don't. I'm trying to find the logic behind the gamepad, but I just don't really see it. I mean, I get they were trying new stuff. I guess they were just trying to get a sequel for the Wii because it sold really well. The Wii sold really well,
It did sell really well.
and I think one of the biggest reasons it sold really well was because the Wii was also a GameCube. It was a Wii with a GameCube built in. You could play anything from the GameCube. So if you bought a Wii, you basically bought a GameCube and a new console, which was very interesting, honestly. I played a lot of GameCube games in my Wii, and I barely noticed any difference. I guess some of them looked better, but it was.
I feel like adapting GameCube games for the Wii or the Switch is the right idea.
No, but like
there were a lot of good ones on the GameCube.
No, they didn't adapt the games. It was literally just a GameCube with a new console, all smushed into this little white box. It was literally just a GameCube and a Wii in one. It was 2 consoles for one. It was amazing.
It's the Wii Cube.
Yes, it basically is a Wii Cube. Everything ran just as great as it did on the GameCube. There was basically, at least when the Wii came out, there was basically no reason to buy a GameCube because the Wii could do it. There was no accessories, or there was no game that the Wii couldn't run that the GameCube could. Anything the GameCube could do, the Wii could do. We can do it!
Was that really one of their marketing campaigns?
Nah, probably not. Oh my god, do
Well,
you
you
remember?
say probably not, but
Do you remember the Wii would like to play?
no.
Do you not remember those?
What was that for?
That was the ads for the Wii. It was just 2 Japanese gentlemen going off to strangers' houses with a Wii remote saying, "We would like to play." And they just started playing Wii with strangers. They probably died because they went to visit a serial killer who had a Wii. Yeah, that was a weird era. So, okay, to end off, what is your opinion on esports?
I don't know. I know that they are big, and I know that lots of people like them, and I know that there are hundreds of millions of dollars going into esports. But it's one of those things, you know, when you're in school and you're bullied for being a nerd and playing video games, playing World of Warcraft and things, and then a few years later you see a bunch of butt munches on TV getting paid $50 million for a League of Legends tournament or whatever.
Like YouTubers?
Get a little bit bitter. No, don't even mention YouTubers. Get PewDiePie right on out of here.
Hey, I'm doing that. You're
That's right.
supporting me with that. Don't you start changing opinions now.
Oh, I'm getting word. PewDiePie has sued us. He has taken the building and the microphones.
Yeah, he's destroyed T-Series, now he's coming for us.
He's taken our podcast. He just walked out the door with my iPad. I can't Google anything anymore.
How are you talking to me then?
Sorry, he's there. He just took the headset.
Oh my god. Okay then.
I got it back. I made a deal with him and the bankers that were kicking us out earlier.
Okay. I will say though, a lot of people do have that mindset that YouTubers don't deserve anything, but me, being as small as I am, I wouldn't consider myself a YouTuber per se. I make videos once in a while, yes, but I'm not a YouTuber. It takes a lot of work. Especially if you're going alone, it takes a lot of work, a lot of creative power.
You quit your complaining, and you pump out them products, boy.
Yeah. I don't care how much you complain, just make it. I want it now. I don't care if you die, just make it.
Entertain us, peasant. You
Are you not entertained?
Dance for us, monkey boy.
No, jeez. It's racist. I'm just kidding.
Is it?
Nah, I don't know. I don't think so. What movie is that from?
Racist Dinky King.
Racist against Dinky King. Dinky King and Francis Long.
Francis Long.
Francis Long. Yeah.
With esports, they just keep getting bigger and bigger. And
I guess it's because it's accessible. Esports is just anyone can join it, anyone can do it. You don't have to spend years. Well, I guess you kind of do have to spend years training to get good at the game, but you don't have to like do much. I guess. You just play
currently
games.
there is about $500 million in prize money and recorded data for esports.
Jeez.
And that's for like Heroes of the Storm tournaments, Dota, you shush. Fortnite, games like that, Hearthstone.
Fortnite? Oh yeah, I guess so. Blah. Weird. Well,
But what do you think defines an esport? Or rather, what defines a sport?
What defines a sport? You're asking the wrong person. I think what defines
I hear
a
this
sport,
argument a lot. People say that esports aren't really sports.
I would say
But
what
what defines a sport?
I think what defines a sport is a competitive game that can be won. Because if you think about it, what is an esport? It's a competitive game that can be won. What separates Overwatch from basketball? Basketball is a competitive game where a team can win. Overwatch is a competitive game where a team can win. The only difference is one is sitting down, the other one is actually moving around.
So is chess a sport?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, there are chess tournaments.
Is hot dog eating a sport?
There are tournaments for hot dog eating, so I guess so.
Does a tournament define a sport?
I would not say a tournament defines a sport. I would say the sport defines the tournament.
So it would have to be competitive.
I guess so.
And that is the main qualifier for if it's a sport.
Well, yes, because if there is a winner at the end, I would consider it competitive. So yes.
So competitive watching paint dry. Would that be a sport? Whoever can watch the longest?
I guess so, yeah. If you want to be. I was part of a competitive art contest, so anything can be competitive, I guess.
Because normally the argument I'll hear is that video games aren't sports because a sport it requires several things, they'll say, but mainly it ends up revolving down to physical ability. A ball.
Yes.
But they'll typically end up saying it requires some degree of physical ability.
Yeah,
like
true.
You have to be able to.
Well, what defines physical ability? Is moving the mouse.
Exactly.
If moving a mouse super fast and clicking the key super fast, is that physical ability?
And what about mental ability as well? My argument usually to that one is, well, what about chess? And normally, I get told chess isn't a sport because it doesn't require physical ability. And then I'll say something like, well, what about race cars and Monster Jam, things like that?
Why do they say that?
That's usually when they get angry at me and tell me to stop being so difficult.
Well, you're just asking a question.
People don't like questions.
Well, what's the difference between NASCAR racing and esports? They're both pressing buttons.
More or less, yeah.
They're both pressing buttons and moving joysticks around. If you
Well,
think about it.
that's just a common complaint I end up hearing is esports aren't sports because they don't have a physical aspect to
I think
them.
the
You
only
don't
real
have to
difference
have any
between
physical
esports and actual,
prowess.
I think just the only difference between actual esports, I mean actual sports and esports, is that one is way more accessible than the other. One requires like years of training, one requires months of training. So, I guess that's why.
It'll be interesting to see how things come around because even though right now VR is very
Oh God.
underdeveloped, it's not where it needs to be. In the
No.
future, I can see at least augmented reality becoming a really big player in the sports field. So it'll be fun to see, like,
The entire world becomes
do
into Ready Player One.
yeah. Well, I mean, like, will traditional sports adopt VR and augmented reality
Nah, I don't think
technologies
so.
for their sports?
Nah, that's stretching it a bit.
Is it though?
In a way, yeah.
Like, I'm not saying like Drew Brees is going to be running around with a big clunky PS Now VR headset on him, but will they? Will new sports be created using AR technology,
Yes.
or will
Yes.
players on professional traditional teams use AR for training purposes or
Yes.
for learning purposes?
Yes. Yes, they will. They already do
And
that for. They already do that for military training and aviation. So yeah.
well, do you think at that point the whole argument that esports aren't really sports
I
will
think they're
start to break
sports.
down?
I just don't think they're on the same level as actual sports, but I do consider them a sport.
Well, I mean, in like the general public's eye, the people who say that esports aren't
No,
sports at all.
that opinion is gonna die down. It'll die down. It's just remember we're still in the generation that's experiencing the shift from analog to digital. We're still experiencing that.
That's
so
true.
yeah, just let
And
the shift end, and you'll see it all die down.
and we probably have a long time to go before we make the transition from current video games
Oh yeah.
and current graphics to the futuristic augmented reality games and graphics and
Oh, yeah.
training
Oh, yeah.
programs.
Yeah.
Then we'll have to have a whole other category. We'll have traditional gaming, video gaming, and then I don't know,
Augmented
space
gaming.
brain gaming.
Yeah. Well, alright. Well, I want to say thank you to Squeebers for joining me, and thanks you to
Woo.
everyone who's watching. Hopefully you have a good weekend, and if you have any suggestions for next week's topic, you can leave it in the comments below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you had a lot of fun. Other than that, I was gonna say good night to everyone, and to all good 2019. And hopefully your gaming adventures don't end soon. Hopefully you enjoy whatever comes next, and hopefully we don't get taken over by the Matrix.
Yeah.
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 Alright. Night, everyone.
Goodbye.